The courthouse clock struck 11. A hollow chime echoed through the marble halls, mixing with the soft hum of ceiling fans and the nervous whispers of those waiting for the trial to resume. Outside, rain tapped against the tall windows of Brooksville County Court, as though the weather itself was holding its breath. Detective Clara Miles sat in the front row of the courtroom, her eyes fixed on the witness stand. The man sitting there, Ethan Ward, 27, bookish, soft-spoken, was the prosecution's star witness, the only one who had seen the face of the man accused of killing Mayor Langdon 2 months ago. Ethan's hands trembled as he adjusted his glasses. His voice, calm but fragile, carried across the room. I saw him. I saw Mr. Kane leaving the mayor's office that night. He looked frightened. The crowd murmured. Richard Kane, the defendant, a sharp-faced businessman, stared back coldly. Clara knew Ethan's testimony was the linchpin. Without it, Kane would walk free. But as Ethan continued, his voice began to falter. His eyes blinked rapidly. Sweat rolled down his temples. Then, mid-sentence, he stopped. His body stiffened, and he collapsed. Gasps filled the room. Clara rushed forward as paramedics were called. Ethan was breathing, but barely. He's in some kind of coma, one paramedic muttered. That moment changed everything. 2 days later, Ethan lay in a hospital bed, his face peaceful, but motionless. Machines beeped steadily, marking time as if mocking the living. The doctors couldn't explain it. No sign of poison, no trauma. He had simply fallen asleep and refused to wake up. Clara stood by his bedside, guilt clawing at her chest. She had pushed for him to testify early, knowing the case's weight. Now, with Ethan silent, the prosecution's case crumbled. The district attorney, Miriam Shaw, entered the room. The judge postponed the trial for 1 week. She said grimly, "If Ethan doesn't wake up, we lose everything." Clara nodded, her jaw tight, but something in her gut told her it wasn't a coincidence. The timing was too perfect. Ethan had mentioned earlier that he was being watched, and now he was trapped in a sleep no one could explain. That night, Clara sat in her car outside the hospital, rain misting on the windshield. She replayed Ethan's testimony in her mind, word by word. Something about his last sentence, something he never finished. She opened her notebook. Ethan had said he looked frightened, and then he collapsed. Clara frowned. And then he what? Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. A text. Stop digging. Detective. The witness sleeps for a reason. Clara's blood turned cold. She called back. No answer. She tried tracing the number. Unregistered. Encrypted. Someone wanted Ethan silent. Someone powerful enough to reach into a courtroom. The dream at that same moment, deep within his coma. Ethan was not asleep. He stood in a dimly lit corridor. Endless doors stretching in both directions. Each door bore a name. Truth, fear, memory, lie. He reached for one, but his hand passed through it like smoke. Then a whisper behind him. You shouldn't have seen what you saw. Ethan turned. A shadowy figure with glowing eyes loomed closer. He tried to scream, but his voice didn't work. The corridor began to dissolve, the whispers turning to laughter. And from somewhere in that darkness, a single voice, distant but familiar, called out his name. Ethan, wake up! Back in the hospital's heart monitor beeped faster. Ethan's eyes moved beneath his eyelids. Clara, who had returned to check on him, noticed. Ethan, she whispered, stepping closer. For a second, she could have sworn she saw his fingers twitch, like he was trying to write something in the air. She leaned in closer. Ethan, it's Clara. If you can hear me, move your hand. A faint tremor. Then, his lips parted slightly. A single word escaped, barely audible. Mirror. And just like that, the monitor steadied again. Ethan slipped back into silence. Clara's heart raced. Mirror. She turned, looking around the dim hospital room. There was only one mirror, small, above the sink. She walked toward it slowly and froze, Written faintly in the condensation of the mirror's surface were 3 words, as if drawn by a trembling finger. He sees you. Detective Clara Miles stood frozen before the hospital mirror, her heart pounding. The faint message on the foggy glass, "He sees you," sent a chill through her spine. She wiped it away quickly, only to find no residue of writing beneath it. It wasn't a prank. Someone, or something, had left that message from inside the mirror's reflection. She turned to look at Ethan, still unconscious. "What are you trying to tell me?" she whispered. The machines hummed quietly in response. The clue in the mirror. Next morning, Claire returned to the hospital with a forensic technician. "Check that mirror," she ordered. "Fingerprints, heat signatures, anything." The technician sprayed the surface with luminescent powder. Under UV light, faint streaks glowed, confirming it had been touched, but not by human skin. The smears looked reversed, as if written from inside the mirror. The tech frowned. "It's like the prints are inverted. I've never seen that before." Claire said nothing, but her mind raced. Ethan's last word was mirror. His coma started the instant he was about to reveal something. And now this message. Coincidence? No chance. She called the hospital's security office and reviewed the surveillance footage from Ethan's room. At 3:14 a.m., the camera glitched for 3 seconds, just before the condensation formed on the mirror. When the video resumed, the words were already there. Something, or someone, didn't want her seeing what happened during those missing 3 seconds. The mayor's office secretary returned to the crime scene that started it all, the late Mayor Langdon's office. Dust still covered the wooden desk. The curtains were drawn, but sunlight filtered through cracks, illuminating old photographs on the wall. She studied the layout. According to Ethan's statement, he had come to deliver a package that night. Through the open door, he saw Richard Kane, the mayor's advisor, arguing with him. Minutes later, the mayor was found dead, Kane fleeing the scene. Ethan claimed he saw Kane leave, but he also said Kane looked frightened. Why, if Kane were the killer? Fear made little sense. Clara bent near the office mirror, a tall, antique thing with a bronze frame, cracked slightly along the side. She noticed faint fingerprints on the glass. She looked closer. The smudges were strangely familiar, swirling, like those in Ethan's hospital mirror. A chill ran through her. The same pattern behind her. A voice echoed softly, "Detective." She turned sharply. It was Richard Kane, escorted by his lawyer. The court had granted him limited freedom under supervision. He smiled faintly. "Can't stay away from the past, can you?" Clara's tone was sharp. "I could ask you the same. You knew Ethan collapsed right after mentioning you." Kane's smirk faltered. "I didn't poison him, if that's what you think. But he saw something that night. Something neither of us understood." Clara's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "In the mirror." He said softly. He screamed when he looked into it. The night of the Crimicane's voice trembled as he continued. "I came back to Langdon's office because he had evidence against me, forged contracts. But when I got there, he was already dead. His reflection, it wasn't right. It was smiling when he wasn't." Clara stared at him. "That's absurd." Kane shook his head. "I swear, detective." Ethan was there too. He saw it. The reflection moved differently, like it was alive. Clara almost laughed it off, but deep down, she remembered the words on the mirror. "He sees you." If Kane was lying, it was an oddly specific lie. If he wasn't, then something much darker was at play. Night investigation. Claire returned to the hospital after midnight, flashlight in hand. The halls were silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. In Ethan's room, the mirror glowed faintly under the moonlight. She turned off the lights and looked closer. At first, her reflection looked normal. Then, the reflection of Ethan's bed flickered. In the mirror, Ethan's eyes were open. Clara spun around. But in reality, he was still motionless. She turned back. The reflection of Ethan sat up slowly, staring directly at her through the glass. "Detective Miles," it said softly. "He's here." The mirror cracked down the middle with a sharp snap. Clara stumbled backward as the reflection vanished. The heart monitor began to beep wildly. "Ethan!" she shouted, rushing to his side. His body convulsed. His eyelids fluttered. Finally, he gasped. His eyes opened. "Clara," he whispered weakly. "It's not Kane." She froze. "Then who?" Ethan's eyes darted to the broken mirror. His voice trembled. "The one who killed the mayor is trapped in the reflection, and now he's trying to come through." The lights flickered. Every mirror in the hospital hallway began to vibrate. A whisper echoed from them, all at once, chilling, amused, and unmistakably human. Finally, awake. Through the looking fear, the mirrors screamed. That's the only way Clara could describe the sound. A high, piercing vibration that wasn't heard, but felt. Glass across the hospital corridor trembled. Light bulbs flickered, and the reflection in every surface seemed to twist unnaturally, as if reality itself were bending. Ethan clutched Clara's arm, trembling. His eyes darted toward the fractured mirror in his room. "He's coming," he whispered. "The thing that killed the mayor. It's not human." Clara steadied him. "You need to tell me everything, right now." Ethan's breath came in shallow bursts. "It started in the mayor's office. He had an old mirror, said it was from a collector in Eastern Europe. But he told me it showed things before they happened. He was obsessed with it." Clara's eyes narrowed. "A mirror that sees the future." Ethan nodded weakly. "Yes, but it was wrong. The reflections didn't predict. They wanted to happen. The night he died, I saw his reflection move before he did. It smiled, and then slit his throat, before the real him did." Clara's stomach turned. "You mean the reflection killed him?" "No," Ethan whispered. "It made him kill himself." The hospital lights went out. Darkness and whispers the emergency lights flickered on, bathing the hallway in red. The mirrors along the wall shimmered, showing warped images of people who weren't there. Clara drew her gun instinctively, scanning the reflections. In one of them, a tall, pale man in an old-fashioned suit stood behind her. She spun around. Nothing. The reflection smiled. Ethan gasped. "That's him, the man from the mirror. The same one I saw in the mayor's office." Clara backed away. "Who is he?" Ethan swallowed hard. Langdon said his name was Alaric Glass, a 19th century hypnotist who believed mirrors could capture souls. He died performing one of his own experiments. The reflection of Alaric stepped closer, but only in the glass. His voice oozed like venom. "Detective Miles, you've seen too much." Just like the witness, Clara raised her weapon. "You killed the mayor. You put Ethan in that coma." The reflection chuckled, voice echoing through the hallway. "No, detective. They did that to themselves. I only show what hides behind their faces." She fired. The bullet shattered the mirror, but the reflection only split into a dozen smaller ones, each grinning. "You can't break me," Alaric's voices said in unison. "Every reflection is a doorway." The trapped Clara grabbed Ethan's arm. "We need to destroy every mirror in this place, if he can travel through them." But Ethan shook his head. "It's too late. The more we fight, the stronger he gets. He feeds on attention, on fear." He looked at the shards scattered on the floor. "We have to trap him, not destroy him." Clara remembered something. The antique mirror in the mayor's office. It was the first one. The origin. "Ethan, can you move?" He nodded shakily. They rushed out of the hospital, alarms wailing behind them, mirrors on walls flickering as they passed. In every reflection, their movements lagged half a second behind. The return to the mayor's office thunder rolled as they entered the abandoned mayor's mansion once again. Dust coated everything. The grand mirror stood in the center of the office, untouched since the murder. The air felt charged, thick with energy. Clara approached cautiously. "This is where it started." Ethan nodded. "If we draw him here, we can seal him back inside." "How?" she asked. Ethan took a deep breath. He's drawn to reflections of the living. But if a mirror shows only him, it becomes his prison. He pulled a small shard from his pocket, the broken piece from the hospital mirror. It glowed faintly. This will lure him, Ethan said. The mirror's surface rippled like water. The reflection of the room twisted, and Alaric appeared again, his face stretching unnaturally across the glass. You think you can banish me, boy, he sneered. You belong to me. You looked at me. Clara stepped forward. Then look at me instead. She threw the shard directly at the center of the large mirror. For a moment, both pieces of glass glowed, the broken shard merging with its origin. The mirror howled, its surface boiling with light. Alaric's reflection screamed. His face melted, pulling inward as if being sucked into the depths of the glass. No, you'll see me again, he shrieked, his voice fading into nothing. The mirror shattered into 1,000 silent pieces, and then everything went still. The morning after sunlight spilled through the cracked windows of the office. Smoke drifted lazily in the air. Clara sat against the wall, exhausted. Ethan knelt beside her, bruised but alive. Is it over? He asked. Clara looked at the shattered glass around them. I think so. A faint glimmer caught her eye, one small shard still reflecting. She leaned closer. In it, her own face stared back, but her reflection smiled. Though she didn't, Clara froze. Ethan! He turned and saw her reflection wink. Then it went dark. Epilogue. A week later, the mayor's office was sealed and declared a restricted zone. The mirrors were collected for evidence, all except one missing shard. Detective Clara Miles returned to her apartment, tossing her jacket aside. She paused at her bathroom mirror, washing her face. As she lifted her head, she noticed, just for a split second, her reflection wasn't copying her. It raised its finger to its lips. SHHH. The witness sleeps, it whispered, and the light flickered out.